Hello everyone, welcome live to 3YTV, tonight's broadcast of the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Nicholas Rees, and of course Carlos Costa will be manning the camera here tonight on the 3YTV crew. We got Legends action here at the Legends Oval for 150 laps around this very, very short, very, very flat Legends track just on the front stretch here of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm very much looking forward to it, hearing a lot from the drivers about how difficult these cars are to drive here, Nicholas.
Yeah, and as drivers are gridding up here tonight, and yeah, as I was saying, drivers now gridding up, getting ready to take on 150 laps here at the famous Legends Oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of the most popular places where drivers bring their legends and compete in the events that happen at Charlotte Motor Speedway within the Legends Oval, Peter.
Yeah, sorry about that connection issues here at the start of the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer, but we got things sorted out, and I'll tell you what, driver of the number 99 machine, Chris Torres, put it on the pole in qualifying here around this very, very flat, very, very short Legends Oval in that number 99 machine. Chris Belanca to his outside. We'll follow up with Belanca here in just a minute. Starting on row number 2, the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. and Dylan Huffines in the number 7. Those two drivers have been contenders just about all season long in those two machines. Expecting to see them have a good showing here tonight. Row number 3 is the number 43 of Andy Johnson and the number 2 of Matthew Disnowski. More on him also here in just a little bit. Row number 4, the number 18 of Wade Cohens and the number 13 of Scott Degenstein. And rounding out the 10-car field here to start tonight at the Charlotte Legends Oval, Sean Jones in the 00 and the number 4 of Derek Presley. But I'll tell you what the series sponsor, South Sound Speedway, they actually raced last night. If you're not close to Olympia, Washington, and weren't able to go see the races, we actually have a winner from last night in tonight's field. That's right. Derek Presley won the Baby Grands race by just a quarter of a second. Very, very close finish for Mr. Presley winning that race. And we had Eric Johnson Jr., Matthew Disnowski, Sean Jones finishing 4th through 6th in that event as well. Disnowski and Sean Jones having a little bit of trouble in that event, but it was a great race for Derek Presley to take home the checkered flag. Chris Belanca, the man who's starting 2nd here tonight in this race, he actually finished 3rd in the Legends race at South Sound Speedway last night, so congratulations to him for a top 3 finish. We'll see if he can back that up with a win here on the Legends Oval, but the Ford Mustang pace car is going to head down to pit lane. It's a funky pit lane because you see the car just go straight off, and it will put the race in the hands of Chris Torres in the number 99 machine. And there is the green flag. You see them get going. These cars only have a single gear, so it takes them a little bit to get up to power here as they get off into turn number 1. The laps will click by very, very quickly. Only 16-second laps around this racetrack, and already the field gets pretty single file, side-by-side action a little bit further back. Dylan Huffines in there. Oh, the 43 machine is around. That's Andy Johnson in the STP Legend. He's going to go off the racetrack. He goes to the inside of the racetrack, gets things going. Oh, the caution is out now. And unfortunately, Andy Johnson also clipped the outside retaining wall. There's Sean Jones in the 00 machine, but we are already under the first caution here. Nicholas.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at this replay here. And it looks like he got just clipped and turned there. Coming out of turns 3 and 4 there, coming out of turn 4, so unfortunate to see there. Already the first caution tonight. You know, honestly, hopefully we don't see anything like that happening, but there more than likely will be some other cautions, as these guys have been getting pretty loose from what we've seen in most of practice, Peter.
Well, definitely one thing about these cars is you have to warm up the tires just a little bit to get them up into operating temperature. You see actually some drivers out there trying to warm their tires here behind the Ford Mustang pace car. Very, very slippery on the cold tires, and also just very, very slippery because they have quite a bit of horsepower and a very narrow wheelbase. We mentioned that a couple of races ago when we raced at the Charlotte Roval right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. TJ Hartman taking the win in that event. But they're very, very tricky to drive. It's all about weight distribution on this flat track because you're leaning so much on the right side of that car that the left rear just isn't planted in the racetrack when you get back on the throttle, and that usually reduces your grip and can lead to spins like we have already seen here in the early going. Working the first caution here tonight in the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. Make sure you check out 93rd Avenue Computer. They're a computer repair service in the Olympia, Washington area, just not far away from South Sound Speedway. And the pace car lights have turned off as you see the sun continuing to set here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a beautiful evening. iRacing finally fixing the textures for the distance effects, and that's great to see. Got to give a shout out to Aunt Kathy in the chat and Samantha Wood rooting on the number 42 here tonight as the green flag is back in the air. Chris Torres in the number 99 machine once again out to a good jump here early on, side by side for second between Chris Malunk and Eric Johnson Jr. Johnson Jr. last night, like I mentioned, finished 4th position in his race in the Baby Grands at South Sound Speedway, trying to use that inside groove to get up into the 2nd position here, and we're already under the 2nd caution, Nicholas.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly what happened as I was focusing more up front. But hopefully, yep, we're going to get a 3Y TV replay here on your screen.
Oh, looks like the double zero.
Yeah,
a little bit too much beans.
Yep, yeah, too much beans, as you said it right there, Peter. Double zero of Sean Jones. One bringing out the caution. 2nd caution here tonight. Yep, just got a little too loose. And it happened all right there.
Yeah, and let's see if we can go back and catch that one. Maybe we can put it into slow motion real fast, because I just kind of want to, highlight something that I was talking about. Maybe we can go back a little bit before that, because just the way that the car leans over onto the right-hand side when it goes into the corner, you can just see how the left side of that car, just the roll on that car just lifts up the left side. Really, you want a stiff roll bar with this short, narrow wheelbase. Definitely up in the front, maybe a little bit softer in the rear, just to get things sorted out with the grip levels and try and get as much wheel on the pavement as possible in the corner. Here we go. We'll get to see this right here coming through the turn number 3 cam. There we go, into slow motion. Just look how much this car leans over on the right-hand side, almost making contact on that right-hand side. You can see the roll of that chassis, and unfortunately the double zero just broke loose right into the front of the number 43. Good job there by Andy Johnson to whoa up and not get any further damage, but the pace car lights are off here, Nicholas. We're about to get set to go back to green.
Yeah, very excited to get back to green flag racing here. Hopefully it can stay that way for at least a couple of laps, Peter. I mean, I'm getting tired of all this eye-pacing action here. And green flag back in the air. We are back racing here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, as all are mainly just going back to single file here. A couple side-by-side action here, and I believe that was the 02 going around, but saves it, and the number 43 of Andy Johnson goes around. We got the 3rd caution here tonight, Peter.
Yeah, Andy Johnson and that number 43 looping it around, coming out of turn number 2. There he is. These drivers will have to be mindful of the fact that there is incident penalties and disqualification limits here tonight. 30 incident points will get you disqualified from the race. You can get incident points multiple different ways: going off the racetrack, losing control, or having contact with another car. And the number 4 machine might have just given the 43 a nudge. The number 4 driven by Derek Presley, the winner last night in the Baby Grands at South Sound Speedway. Here we go, on board with the number 4 machine. He saw the 02 machine going around, and then out of stage right enters the number 43 machine. Just a little bit of a nudge in the left rear corner of that car. And we are back under eye-pacing, as you mentioned there, Nicholas. And Chris Torres in the number 99 machine still out front. So far led every single lap here as we're just now working lap number 15. I'm sure these drivers are hoping to get some green flag action, and because these cars are still going to be a handful to drive, Nicholas, until those tires really heat up.
Yep, and a little pushing going on during the pace laps here from a couple of these drivers I've been noticing. A couple guys are slowing down, and then the other one behind them hitting the guy in front. But I would like to mention here before we get back to green, which it looks like We still will have another lap after this. But the guys up in the race control tower have changed restarts to single file, so these guys will be having single file restarts. They said, all right, enough with the double file, we're going single file.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen this multiple times this year here in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. It's happened, and really it has improved the restarts. It has improved the amount of cautions that do get brought out, as it does in real life. That's why a lot of real life tracks use it when they start to see multiple yellows kind of come out back to back. Of course, unlike a lot of short tracks in the United States, especially the dirt tracks, these laps under caution do count, and the Ford Mustang pace car will head off to the right, and we'll be back to green flag with Chris Torres leading us down here through turn number 3 and 4, and he's already on the loud pedal. Great start. He actually arced turn number 3 and 4 there just to get a little bit better drive down the front stretch in that number 99 machine. Was able to get a little bit of a gap between him and the 14, but Eric Johnson Jr. got really loose coming out of turn number 2, and he's going to give up that position to the number 42 of Chris Belanca. Belanca now up into the second spot where he qualified. Finished in the 3rd position last night in the Legends race at South Sound Speedway, and trying to get a little bit more here in the early going here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Nicholas.
Yeah, and a great battle for the lead here between Chris Belanca and Chris Torres, your leader, as Belanca almost gets to the bumper of Torres. Now trying to make a move, coming into turns 3 and 4, down to the inside of him. And Chris Belanca is your new leader here at Charlotte, Peter.
Yeah, definitely showing that prowess that he's taken from the real-life Legends car now to the iRacing Simulator Legends car, now working his way through turn number 3 and 4, and that is a lap of this racetrack. Let's see if we can go on board with one of these drivers just to kind of show you how tricky it is to get around this racetrack on board here with your race leader, the number 42, Chris Belanca. Watch his steering wheel inputs. Definitely fairly straight on entry to the corner, and cranks that wheel right through the center, and a caution flag has come out. Scott Degenstein in the number 13 machine. There he is right in front of the number 42 machine. That number 13 did go around. Looks like he will stay on the lead lap, though. A little bit of right front damage on that number 13 machine. Oh, into what is the NASCAR pit wall there, but that is the outside wall of turn number 2. So Scott Degenstein, that's quite a bit of right front damage to these cars, and it's not like the street stocks, Nicholas, that we've seen so far this year in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series. These cars are pretty fragile because of the fact that they're almost open-wheeled.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's, of course, no windows on these things, like, not even really any window net at all up in front for the windshield from my perspective here. But of course, it's, as you mentioned, it's open wheel pretty much. Of course, you still got a roof on the car, but other than that, I mean, not much more to not call it open wheel, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. The yellow flag still in the air here, but there is the number 42 machine, your current race leader, Chris Belanca, taking the lead from Chris Torres just a couple laps ago. I'm sure he is where he wants to be out front here, as we're now working lap number 26, 124 laps to go or so. We will have a halfway caution so these drivers can come down and get fuel, but until that point, hopefully we can stay clean and green, because the green flag is about to come in the air. Chris Belanca on the loud pedal, leading over the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. to the stripe. Chris Torres sitting in 3rd. What about Wade Cohens? Haven't really mentioned him. He has gotten himself up into the 4th position. He started back in 7th. Dylan Huffines in the number 7 machine rounds out your top 5. Disnowski sitting in 6th. And Derek Presley, he has moved his way from 10th up to 7th in the number 4 machine. There is Derek working his way now into turn number 1 and 2. And Nicholas, we're starting to see these single file restarts, and you know, we got a couple of green flag laps in. Hopefully these drivers got a little bit more heat in their tires that last run. Hopefully that heat in the tires can kind of stay up under that fairly brief caution flag that we had, and hopefully these cars will start to drive a little better.
And the 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. does go around right as you say that, Peter. That happens a lot in this series. Commentators curse with you, Peter. But we do have another caution here tonight, and that is caused by the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. spinning around.
Yeah, just got on the throttle a little bit too much in that number 14 machine, and like I said, it's all about throttle modulation with these machines and really balancing the weight distribution. You really have to make sure the car is set before getting back to full throttle, because that can happen right there. Here we go, on board with the number, this is on board with Chris Torres in the number 99, watching out front and seeing the number 14 going for a loop. That will move Eric Johnson Jr. from second all the way back to 10th. Last car on the lead lap. There are only 10 starters here tonight in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computers. But the good news, folks, is that racing is back at South Sound Speedway with that race that they had last night. Make sure to follow their Facebook page for more races over the coming weeks. That they did have fans in attendance. Social distancing was a thing. They did have COVID-19 procedures, but if you're up for it, go check them out. And also, if you're in the chat with us here tonight watching this eRacing series, make sure you make yourself heard, because these legend cars are pretty fun to watch. They're definitely very lively, Nicholas. I mean, we've seen that catch out a couple people here tonight, but other than that, they're pretty fun to watch around this racetrack.
Yeah, they are, and I mean, you know what's even more fun, and by the way, it is 1 to green here, as the iRacing official pace car will park it. But no, what I was saying is, what even is more fun is when you have all this live action, but when it's staying clean and green. So hopefully we can see that here in the next coming laps, Peter, as the green flag is flying. Cars are back racing here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yep, and the number 42 of Chris Belanca out to a pretty good jump. Chris Torres now back up into the second position after Eric Johnson Jr.'s spin. It'll be interesting to see how Eric Johnson Jr. works his way back up through the pack, as that number 14 machine already slicing and dicing his way up into the 8th position. So he's already gained 2 spots here in about a lap and a half. You see the sun continuing to set here, the lights in full effect here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Listening down on these Legends machines, definitely pretty awesome to see the lights on all of the curves of these cars. That's kind of one of the unique features of these Legends cars, the kind of 1934 Ford Coupe look on these cars. Ooh, looks like Scott Degenstein in the number 18 machine. He is going to get out of the way of the leaders. Might have had a little bit of an incident in that car. Going off track there again, trying to let your race leader Chris Belanca by. Here comes Chris Torres in the number 99 to get around Scott Degenstein, who will be the first car 1 lap down in the number 18. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, I think that right front damage he got from that earlier collision with the turn 2 wall, as the number 4 machine has gone around. Derek Presley has gone around in the back of the pack. There he is, and we are back under caution. Scott Degenstein in the number 13. I was just about to say, he has all that damage from the turn 2 wall. I think that's affecting him as we see this replay. Might have just been too much beans. Couldn't quite tell if there was contact there with the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. or not.
Yeah, I was watching that as it was happening. I think maybe he got a tap from Eric Johnson. Yeah, I think maybe he got a little tap from Eric Johnson Jr. in the 14. Hopefully, we'll get another look here.
Yeah, going off into the corner, the number 4 machine. Oh, looks like he was already a little bit loose there, Nicholas, and the number 14 machine kind of finished him off, so to speak. So the number 4 of Derek Presley, he'll fall back to 9th, but we're back under the caution flag. Here we go from the camera up above. You can see him loose right there, and then the number 14. Might have been a little bit of neck code there, but the number 4 machine going around, he will stay on the lead lap. Scott Degenstein in the number 13 machine. Not 100% sure whether or not he will get the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap or not. Still being scored 1 lap down in that race car. I think he's kind of pleading for the lucky dog. And there he goes. He's going to get back onto the lead lap in that race car. We got Nolan Hodgson in the chat. He's saying, so basically I'm race control. Dark Knight in the chat as well. I hope y'all are doing all well here tonight. Enjoying some South Sound Speedway eRacing series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And we're going to go back to green here shortly in about a lap and a half, I do believe, as the Ford Mustang pace car is slowly working its way around the racetrack. It is pretty slow here tonight, about 30 miles an hour around this racetrack. But Nicholas, we're already closing in on the 1/3 distance.
Yep, and once, as we've mentioned, once we get to the halfway point, they will be throwing a competition caution for pit stops to occur. But the iRacing official pace car, the Ford Mustang official pace car, will be parking it for hopefully a while now. Let the pace car driver just have some rest. As we're going to go green here in just a little bit. The green flag flying. Chris Belanca, Chris Torres, and Wade Cohen's your top three, Peter.
Yeah, Wade Cohen's in that number 18 machine. It's been a clean race for him so far. He's got up into that 3rd position with the spin from Eric Johnson Jr. Good job by Wade. Started back in the 7th position in that white number 18 machine right there in front of the number 7. There is Eric Johnson Jr. He's gotten himself back up into the top 5, getting around Matthew Disnosky. So Disnosky will slide back into 6th. On board right now with Eric Johnson Jr. as he works his way through turn number 3 and 4. Look at how much steering input is in that wheel as he gets through the corner here. Very impressive to see just how twitchy that race car is. A little bit of oversteer there coming out of the corner on that number 14 machine. It's these cars are a handful. I'll tell you what, folks. If you've never driven these Legend cars in the iRacing simulator, they are very technical cars. As the number 18 of Wade Cohen's into the back of the number 19 machine and spins himself out. Wade Cohen's, I was speaking highly of him, saying that he has had a clean race, but the commentator's curse strikes again for the number 18 machine. He just dives it into the corner and just a little bit of a nudge into the back of the number 99 machine, and that just unloads the rear end of that car. Wade Cohen's will now have to go back around where he qualified, as we see this from high atop. Just that brief little nudge right there. He probably was on the brakes a little bit hard as well, and that probably didn't help. The brake bias on these cars also something that's very, very important to their balance, especially on the entry of the corner. And really the entry of the corner kind of sets the tone for the entire corner around this racetrack. You almost have to drive it like a road course, because it essentially is a road course with how flat it is, Nicholas.
Yeah, very flat track, this configuration with the Legends Oval. And yeah, you gotta drive it like a road course. And I mean, if you gotta have what it takes to actually drive it like that, and be clean with it as well. But hopefully we have just about maybe a lap and a half to go until we go green. We're gonna see what the iRacing official pace car does with the lights on that pace car once we come to the start finish line, hopefully once more for a while now. Hoping to go back to green at around lap 52 if the pace car does turn his lights off. We're gonna see in just a little bit. Yep, all right, 1 to green. We're gonna see what these guys can do. Hopefully we can have the longest green flag run that we've had yet, Peter. Man, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, hoping to get a little bit more green flag running in here as we get close to the halfway distance. Remember, we will have a pit stop in this race, so the cars can come down and take fuel as needed. But the green flag about to be back in the air for your race leader, driver of the number 42 machine, Chris Belanca, finished 3rd last night at South Sound Speedway up in the Olympia, Washington area. In fact, it is actually in Rochester, Washington. As the number 99, Chris Torres, he ran wide, and that's going to open the door for Eric Johnson Jr., the number 14 machine, to slot back up into the 2nd position. Here comes Dylan Huffines in the number 7. This is a battle for 3rd, and Huffines is going to take that spot away from Chris Torres from 2nd back to 4th, and we got a little bit of a battle brewing behind. Look at Matthew Disanoski in the O2 machine. He's starting to make some noise. I think he's really starting to figure out this Legends mobile and start to make some noise, definitely getting it fine-tuned to his liking. And that's something these drivers can do. They play around with the brake balance as needed to get these cars situated. And also, we mentioned a couple times here tonight, and Nicholas, this was a point I was thinking about when we were under caution. When we do go down pit road, I'm wondering if any of these drivers are going to take tires or not, because they have all this heat build up in these tires that they have right now. Tire wear is not a huge deal with these Legends cars with how lightweight they are. It would seem like some drivers will probably try keeping their old tires on and using that temperature already in them. Oh, the number 18 machine of Wade Cohen's has gone around. And we are back under the yellow as you see him getting himself righted. I think there was a little bit of contact back there with the O2 mobile of Matthew Disnowski.
Yeah, I was taking a look at it. Yeah, Matthew Disnowski just goes right into the number 18 of Wade Cohen's and turned him. So, finally, a non-self-made caution, one-person caution, really. But with actual contact this time, like full-on contact was the cause. So,
yeah, Wade Cohen's definitely breaking a little bit loose there coming out of turn number 2. Here we go, on board with Disnowski. You see that number 18 machine? Yeah, man, just nowhere for Disnowski to go but into the side of the number 18 machine. They do have one fast repair here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Legends Oval. Drivers are not very likely to use their fast repair because they have to come down pit road, and it takes a very long time to come down this pit road. Very, very unique configuration. You actually have to go all the way down to the entry to the NASCAR quad oval. You just kind of stay on the NASCAR pit lane going in reverse NASCAR style. And then you have to take a little hairpin down at the beginning of the NASCAR quad oval to get straightened up and facing the correct way back towards the start finish line.
yeah.
So it takes a very long time for these drivers to come down pit road here, which is kind of why we are having a competition caution so they can come down and do what they need to do so they don't end up losing laps on one another. But for drivers like Scott Degenstein in the number 18 machine, he's definitely struggling with the amount of damage on his race car. He actually got the lucky dog under this caution again because he did fall one lap down under that short green flag run. But Nicholas, we'll see if the pace car lights go off, and indeed they do, as we were just under a little bit of a radio style broadcast here in just a moment.
Yeah, just for a little bit, having a little bit of technical difficulties with some disconnections and connections from the race server itself and the actual stream. So hoping to get that fixed in just a little bit. And we're going to see what happens, but the pace car is actually off, and video is resumed. Green flag, racing is resumed.
Chris Belanca in the number 42 machine. Once again, great start for him. The number 14 machine of Eric Johnson Jr. He's back up into second position after having a self-spin earlier. What can he do with your race leader, that number 42 machine right in front of him? Dylan Huffines now in the third position, and Chris Torres in the number 99. He's been in second for most of this race. He started on the pole, now back to fourth. We'll see if he can get around the number 7 machine in front of him. Just got to be patient with these race cars and wait for the car in front of you to make a little bit of a mistake. It will happen with these narrow wheel-based cars. Yamaha engines in most of these machines. That's kind of why they sound a little bit like a motorcycle. If you hear them flash by us on the front straight, they do have a motorcycle engine in them. And that is one way that these cars are actually fairly affordable to run. That's why they're so popular, not only in the United States, but all across the world. I mean, people run them in the United Kingdom, they run them in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. People run these Legends cars, and it's pretty cool to see that there's such a cost-effective car to run. Talking about bumping and banging, Chris Torres in the number 99 just laid the bumper on the number 7 of Dylan Huffines going through, coming out of turn number 2, and that number 99 machine, he's to the inside of Huffines. We'll see this, that's just after it had happened. Torres trying to make that pass on the inside. There's the nudge, you saw it right there. Huffines had to correct that number 7 machine just a little bit, did a fantastic job of keeping that car in line. We're back live. They're still side by side here on the front stretch as we are closing in on the halfway mark here tonight at the Charlotte Legends Oval. Up at the front, oh, the number 13 machine of Stegenstein's around and he eclipsed the second place machine of Eric Johnson Jr. We're back under caution here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Degenstein has taken the number 13 to the pit lane. And not 100% sure if there was contact actually with your race leader that led to that contact with the number 14 machine. We'll have to see if we can get another shot of that, Nicholas, because there might have been contact with the race leader.
Yeah, there very well could have been. That it's kind of hard to see from that angle, but I think there might have been a little bit of contact right there, Peter. We're gonna see this from another angle here on the 3-wide TV replay.
Yeah, I think you'll see that there's definite contact. Bang! Right there. A little bit of a nudge from the number 42 machine. Looks like the number 13 was kind of struggling with the outside wall there down the NASCAR pit straight. But Degenstein, unfortunately, going to be on pit road. And like we said, it's a very, very long tow back to pit road. Very, very tricky pit road. But luckily for the number 14 machine, he was able to get it righted around and get back going. A little bit of connection issues here once again, unfortunately, here on 3-wide TV. So we're back to a radio-style broadcast as these cars are still under caution. It was kind of fortuitous that we made it back last time just before the green flag comes out. We'll see if that happens again here tonight. Unfortunately, the internet gremlins are in full effect here tonight. But for Chris Belanca right now, your race leader in the number 42 machine, getting close to the halfway mark. We'll see if they decide that this is the halfway caution or not, or whether or not they decide to go a little bit further as we're just about coming up to 78 laps to go. Your top 5, Chris Belanca, Eric Johnson Jr., Dylan Huffines, Chris Torres, and Matthew Disnowski. Eric Johnson Jr., Matt Disnowski, and Sean Jones all in the race here tonight. They finished 4th through 6th in the Baby Grands race last night at South Sound Speedway, if you're just now joining us. And also got to give a shout out to all of the dads in the chat. It is Father's Day, so if any fathers are in the chat right now cheering on one of their sons or just enjoying the race, happy Father's Day for you. Pace car has dived off. Chris Belanca in the number 42 machine will lead us back to the green flag here down the front stretch. All single file as we had a single file restart. Eric Johnson Jr., the number 14, in second. Dylan Huffine still in third. Chris Torres trying to resume that battle for the third position. He wasn't able to make that pass on Dylan Huffines. Remember, they had a little bit of contact coming out of turn number 2, but Huffine's able to hold off that number 99 on the outside groove. Eric Johnson Jr. doesn't look like he has much damage from the contact with the number 13 of Scott Degenstein, because Johnson Jr. Still in the second position. He was able to get it righted and back going before he lost any spots under that last collision that we saw out there on the racetrack. So he slotted into second. Dylan Huffine's in third, Torres in fourth, and Matthew Disnowski in the top 5. Again, a little bit spread out here in the early going here, Nicholas.
And we've been seeing this with the single file restarts, Peter. Basically giving drivers an opportunity to automatically start single file and then of course spread out a little bit without having all this side-by-side action right off the bat. But I believe we're pretty much coming up to the competition caution point pretty soon, unless that last caution was considered it.
Yeah, not 100% sure. Scott Degenstein in the number 13 machine having a little bit of trouble. We're now in the second half of the race, so maybe they've kind of called an audible here, so to speak, and they're going to stay green flag out there on the racetrack. And looks like the number 13 machine really struggling as the caution flag has come around. Oh, we got one car around on the front stretch, I believe. It looks like the number 4 of Derek Presley, last night's winner in the Baby Grands at South Sound Speedway. It looks like he has looped it around on the front stretch. You see him struggling there on the back stretch. Tried to get it back going. We'll see if he just looped it around here coming out of turn number 4. And yep, that's exactly what happened. Got it brought to a halt and then looped it around trying to get the power down. And now we see all of the field on pit road coming down around that hairpin. You see that hairpin and how tricky it is. Now these drivers have to find their pit stall. Also very, very difficult here at this racetrack to find your pit stall, because the pit stalls are very, very narrow, very, very small here. Very, very difficult to get in your box and stop kind of on your marks, so to speak. Looks like everyone gonna do so nice and neatly. Looks like everyone's gonna take tires here. And Nicholas, kind of interesting to see that. I was wondering if some of these drivers were going to stay out, especially drivers like Dylan Huffines, who was only about a tenth slower than his fastest lap of the entire race over the last 5 green flag laps. So not too much degradation on these tires, but some of these drivers electing to take it here under this pit stop in anticipation of the last half of this race.
Yeah, and I mean earlier when you were saying how you didn't think that many drivers would come down to pit road to take tires, I was honestly thinking otherwise, and it looks like that's correct. That drivers are coming down pit road to take tires. So it's gonna be interesting. More cool tires now. So we might see a little bit of what was happening earlier on in this race, Peter, and yeah, it's like, obviously cooler tires might be getting a little loose again, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, we're not the drivers, we're the commentators. We're gonna see what the drivers can do here in a little bit.
Yeah, of course, the track temperature is also a little bit lower here as we've descended into the darkness. The pace car lights have been turned back on. We're going to get an extra lap here of caution, but the track temperature dropping just a little bit. That will not help with the tire temperature here, especially under pacing conditions. Chris Belanca in the number 42 machine looks like he's dropping to the back here. Looks like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe we're having a little bit of issues here. Not quite sure what's going on with live.
They are delaying the caution. They're delaying the drop of the green flag. So basically, what race control is doing is they're basically making the caution laps a little longer here, and obviously we're not completely sure why this is happening. Any clue as to why this is happening, Peter?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the fact that this pit road is funky. Is the best way to say it. All of these cars actually got lapped by the pace car on pit road because these cars are not easy to do a tire change. So your pit stop times are actually quite long. In fact, drivers like Chris Belanca, Matthew Disnowski, they had like 20-second pit stops or so, and that is just enough time for the pace car to lap them, and because they got lapped, it's kind of thrown everything out of whack. So Chris Belanca, who's currently being scored your race leader in the number 42 machine, he is right now towards the back of the pack. All of the cars in front of him are almost one lap down, including Dylan Huffines, Eric Johnson Jr., Wade Cohens, and Chris Torres. And the in-race officials trying to figure out the iRacing situation here, which is very, very frustrating, I'm sure. I almost think that they need to throw the green flag here and then potentially sort things out by themselves and then throw another yellow flag to kind of get things reset, so to speak. But looks like they're not going to do so. Yes, they are going to do so. As
They
the
just
yellow
threw it
flag
again.
has been thrown again, yeah, like you said. So not 100% sure what they're going to have to do here. I think they're just going to have to go green, let them sort things out by themselves under green flag, kind of pace around under green flag, so to speak, get everyone on the lead lap, get everyone back into position, and then throw a yellow so they can get kind of the conditions back that they were expecting. But drivers like Derek Presley currently being scored 2 laps down in that machine. And drivers like Matthew Disnowski in the O2 machine, he's being scored second right now. Andy Johnson, Sean Jones also being scored a lap down. So all of a sudden, iRacing has kind of thrown this one into disrepair. Hopefully we can get things sorted out and go back to green flag racing here shortly. There's the number 7 machine of Dylan Huffines, and looks like we're gonna do exactly what I was expecting them to do. They're gonna go green here, get things sorted out. Looks like they're gonna come to a stop here on the front stretch and put the number 42 machine out front. Nope, looks like they're just gonna have to figure things out. There's the yellow flag, so that will kind of get things sorted out. This is essentially a red flag here in iRacing. You don't see these very often, but every once in a while you do when iRacing decides to just cause havoc on the server.
Yeah, and it looks like, from what I'm seeing, like all of these guys did get penalized. So race control has taken matters into their own hands and is now clearing each black flag and penalties of all these drivers, and I'm sure that had something to do with probably going around the pace car maybe when it was about to go green, and the whole situation with the pace car. Very interesting. Haven't seen that one yet for me. That's the first for me. That was really confusing and interesting right there, Peter.
Yeah, definitely something you don't see very often. And now drivers like Andy Johnson, Sean Jones, they're still being scored 1 lap down. Derek Presley and the number 4 machine 2 laps down in that car. So hopefully we can get things sorted out. There's Matthew Disanoski in his O2 mobile.
Yeah, now everyone is being, except Chris Belanca and Matthew Disanoski, everyone is being scored at least 1 lap down. So still a little bit of troubles possibly going around here. And now they're starting to wave everyone around the pace car. So definitely a lot of work for race control tonight, Peter. Instead of just throwing the cautions, you're throwing the cautions over cautions, so you can get the situation figured out. A couple drivers getting multiple waves around the pace car as well. So we're going to see what happens here. As you can see, the number 43 of Andy Johnson now being waved around along with Eric Johnson Jr. And really everyone else is being waved around, Peter.
Yeah, this is all working out, though, for Chris Belanca, because presumably he will still be your race leader when you go back to Reno. There goes the number 99 machine going around right there, around his outside, Chris Torres. Getting a little bit close here, getting back onto the lead lap, but hopefully we can get things squared away, like I have been saying, for about the final 50 or so laps here in tonight's South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. I'll tell you what, this isn't the first time I've ever seen in my life pacing issues. My local short track has a man who goes out on a little four-wheeler with a whiteboard taped to his back, trying to get people lined up if they're not lined up in the right position. So I have seen that happen before. It isn't really taped to his back. It's more so strapped to his back. But the imagery is similar between the man who gets them all lined up, but looks like everything is in order because we're about to go back to green flag. The number 43 machine out front. That's Andy Johnson. And,
looks like we're going to be... Looks like we're going to have another red flag, as our producer just said in our ears. Another red flag as we have it. And, I mean, I'm guessing it's because Andy Johnson was being scored first or some other troubles, Peter.
Yeah, what they really need to do is they just need to line people up. They need to go green flag, line people up in the positions they're supposed to be in, and then throw the yellow. The issue with stopping like this on the front stretch, Nicholas, is that iRacing sometimes scores people a little bit kind of funky if they stop on the racetrack. It has a hard time. I think there's something in the system that actually kind of looks to see if a car is stopped, and if it is stopped, they can lose their position. If they get rolling in time, then they can get things sorted out. But all of a sudden, things not lining up here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as these leaders so expecting. So we'll see. Hopefully this sorts things out. Not 100% sure, though, as we're in a pretty similar situation. Chris Belanca, your race leader in the number 42, leading over the number 43 of Andy Johnson as we close in on the final 50 laps here in tonight's Legends race here in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. 93rd Avenue Computer are bringing you this broadcast here tonight on 3Y TV. Go check them out for all of your computer repair needs up in the Olympia, Washington area. And a lot of yellow flag laps here since the halfway caution, and really that pit stop's throwing things out of whack here as the iRacing simulator, that pace car lapping everyone, just all of a sudden something happened in the iRacing code that it did not like. But hopefully we can get to green flag action here shortly. Not exactly hearing what the tower is saying to the drivers here, but I think hopefully, knock on wood, we will get back to green flag action here shortly. If you're in the chat, tell us how your Father's Day went. Let us know if it went according to plan. Maybe you had a barbecue. Maybe you are sitting back watching some 3-wide TV action. Either way, let us know. Hopefully it all went well, especially after all of the events that have been going on across the country. It's starting to hopefully get back to some sort of normal with local racing happening at South Sound Speedway last night. I personally spent my weekend doing the 24 Hours of Le Mans here on iRacing. That wrapped up this morning at 6:50 West Coast time, and luckily my team won the LMP2 category in the 5th split. So 24 Hours of Le Mans winner to my name now. That's pretty cool. As looks like we're back to the green flag, but not back to green flag.
Slowing down again.
And I think this is what I was mentioning to you guys is that they just kind of need to roll around the racetrack under green flag conditions, kind of get things sorted out. Now the good news is the in-race control can kind of get everyone sorted where they need to be. They don't need to throw a yellow flag again. They can just get everyone into their spot, and when they get everyone in their spot, they can, let the drivers know, okay, this time by we're going back green and racing conditions. So hopefully the pace car won't come out here as they just roll around the racetrack at about 45 kilometers an hour, just about 30 miles per hour. You can tell I'm still in my 24 Hours of Le Mans mode because I've been using the metric system over the past couple days to get ready for that race. And we're going to have 50 laps to go. Looks like everyone's in their right spots because finally we're back to green flag action here. And the number 42, Chris Belanca, is going to shoot out to the race leader with the number 02 of Matthew Disnowski. Look at Dylan Huffines in that machine. Oh, we got contact in the back. The 43 machine has gone around with the number 18 of Wade Cohens. And just like that, we are back to the yellow flag. Let's see what happened right here to the number 43. And remember, Nicholas, cold tires right now. All of these cars came to pit road not too long ago, but just coming together side by side, coming out of turn number 2. Looks like they locked wheels with one another, and just like that, hard into the outside wall.
Yeah, for sure. And from what I am seeing is, yep, just goes around. And just like that, we have another caution. I was excited for the racing aspect of iRacing to come into play, but I mean, we're back under the iPacing.com motorsports simulation here.
Yeah, definitely been a interesting night. Wade Cohen saying, hey guys, why am I being scored a lap down now? iRacing's live timing and scoring seems to be all out of whack here tonight. Wade Cohen's did seem to lose a lap in that collision that he had, and unfortunately for that number 18 machine, he's being scored a lap down. We'll have to see if he gets waved around the pace car or not. It's kind of similar to Derek Presley in the number 4 machine. I don't think he should be scored 2 laps down. Do expect him to get the lucky dog here, assuming he was not involved in that incident. We will have to wait and see how it all pans out. There goes Wade Cohen in the number 18 machine. Looks like he's working his way up to the front. Hopefully he can get waved around the pace car. But definitely things a little bit out of whack here tonight. Had some connection issues. I'm looking outside my window right now looking for a full moon because definitely something's been a bit crazy here tonight.
The full moon, yeah. And I'm just looking what's going on. I mean, I tried even listening into what race control was saying, but they are going to be delaying the caution flag once more, letting Wade Cohens be waved around the pace car. And man, this race is all sorts of crazy with this pacing. But there goes the number 18 of Wade Cohens going to be waved around the pace car. There he goes. And hopefully that'll be the last time that we see some yellow flag shenanigans that shouldn't even be happening, Peter.
Yeah, and all these drivers have to remember they're on cold tires. They haven't had a lot of laps in these tires since that pit stop, at least not a lot of green flag laps in the tires to put that heat into, and they just won't have the grip until that the temperatures come up in those tires. And we saw it at the beginning of the race. We started to see a little bit more green flag action as the race went on under the first half of the race. But now the green flag is back in the air, and Blanca in that number 42 machine is just got to be mindful of that. Here comes the 7 of Huffines underneath Disanoski in the 02 machine, and Eric Johnson Jr. is going to try and follow him in the number 14 going underneath Disanoski here in turn number 3 and 4. And Disanoski got a terrible run coming out of the corner. He's going to open up the door for the number 99 of Chris Torres side by side into turn number 1 and 2. Torres really hugging that white line, does a good job getting the drive out of the corner. And now Disanoski from second, now back into 5th position as the 99 of Torres will slide up into 4th.
Yeah, and yeah, Matthew Disnoski just taking a dive down in positions, if you'd like to call it that. And now we mainly got all of the single file action. For the most part, these guys are spread apart, most of them, but some of them, including Eric Johnson Jr., got a little loose, trying to get up to the number 7 of Dylan Huffines. Maybe that'll be a battle starting to brew as he is getting close to the bumper of Dylan Huffines.
And remember, it will take a few laps for these tires to come up to temperature with this short racetrack. So they're still out there struggling with cold tires, and we have had another caution come out here. Not quite sure where that caution is. Oh, is that the number 99 of Chris Torres that I see there with some damage? We will have to wait and see. Torres was definitely off the pace. He was your pole sitter at the beginning of the night. Oh, yeah, look, heavy contact with the outside wall coming out of turn number 4 for that number 99 machine. Let's see what happened here. Ooh, just too much beans. Bam, into the outside wall. And I got to think, Nicholas, that's the cold tires that we've been mentioning here over the last few laps, just catching out your pole sitter here tonight, Chris Torres.
Yeah, we're going to see this on board with Chris Torres, I believe. Yep, bam, right into the wall, as you said it right there, Peter. Definitely the cold tires now showing its wrath to these drivers, including the number 99 of Chris Torres. And hopefully they'll start to warm up over the next few laps, as long as, I mean, we stay green, and then they'll have a higher chance to warm up in a bit of a faster time. So hoping that we can get back to green flag racing in a timely manner, as we are now on lap 115 out of 150 under this caution tonight. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully these guys can keep it clean and green, as I like to say, and we're going to see what happens, Peter.
And I just love these Legends cars here at the Legends Oval. I mean, this is, of course, one of the biggest races that gets held at Charlotte Motor Speedway, in my opinion. That it isn't a NASCAR event, of course, but these Legends cars here at the Legends Oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway, this is the one race that all of the Legends drivers, pretty much throughout the entire world, they circle this one on the calendar in real life, because this is in North Carolina, close to NASCAR. This is where you want to make your name with these Legends cars. We have seen a lot of NASCAR drivers come out of the Legends cars, drivers like Kurt and Kyle Busch, get up into NASCAR with these big events, especially at a lot of the Bruton Smith owned NASCAR tracks. You see the Legends ovals at tracks like Las Vegas, Texas Motor Speedway, Charlotte Motor Speedway. Definitely a very, very tight-knit group of people and a very, very competitive group of drivers. And speaking of competitive drivers, we got this group of drivers back to green flag action here, as we now only have 33 laps to go in tonight's 150-lap feature race in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. There's Matthew Disanoski now. He is in the 02 machine, up into the 4th position once again. Chris Torres back to 7th. We'll have to see if that number 99 machine got a lot of damage. Look at this battle brewing for the 2nd position. Eric Johnson all over the back bumper. Eric Johnson Jr., all over the back bumper of Dylan Huffines. in that number 7 machine as they drive off into turn number 1 and 2. The number 14 peeking his nose to the inside. Will he try and outbrake him here into turn number 3? He will. He's hugging that white line. That's where you need to be, right down there on the inside of the racetrack, side by side for second.
Yeah, and Eric Johnson Jr. now showing his Xbox talent, as on the back of the car. Don't worry, I've done this on Xbox. He's just letting all the drivers know, just showing off his Xbox talent. But it looks like Eric Johnson Jr. in the 14 is now your second place car here tonight, with Dylan Huffines just behind him.
Yeah, that number 7 machine of Huffines. I've been impressed with his run here tonight, Nicholas. We've seen Huffines be very strong over the last few weeks in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computers. But Huffines seems to have struggled just kind of putting the whole race together. And so far, third position, I'm sure he would be happy with finishing on the podium with the way the last few races have been. Been very, very fast. Like I have said, been a top 5 contender, but I think last week, we had mentioned that number 7 machine finishes in the 7th position a lot of times, and that just doesn't speak to the pace we've seen out of Dylan Huffines over the last few weeks. He has definitely been a contender for a top 5, multiple top 5s, but definitely so far in the 3rd position right now. Matthew Disnowski from the 4th position, he's gone around in contact with the 02 and the 18. Big contact here on the backstretch. Disnowski spinning out at turn number 4. They were battling a little bit further back. Sean Jones and Wade Cohens were battling. There's the 02 going around, and see this battle of cars right there, and nowhere for the 00 or the 18 to go. Tough break for Wade Cohens, as he was pretty much an innocent bystander in this one. Let's see exactly what happened to that number 18 machine. Dial up the replay one more time here, Nicholas. The 02, just too much beans there coming out of turn number 2. Ooh, too much beans going into turn number 1, and that kind of snowballed into turn number 2. And we mentioned that earlier, that your braking is so important here at this racetrack. Really, your entry of the corner sets up the tone for the entire turn 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, depending on what end of the racetrack you run.
Yeah, for sure. And oh, you see it right there. Right through that front windshield there, if you will. Saw it happen all right there. Too much beans, like really just transferring from turn 1 to turn 2, and then all of it just happened right then and there, Peter. So looks like we will not have that many more laps to go, as we're coming up to lap 129 on the pace lap, as the pace car lights are still on. So hopefully next time by it will be 1 to green, and that's what I'm guessing, since these guys have been pacing for just a couple of laps now. But we'll see what the pace car decides to do, and that's when we will decide to say if it's 1 to green or not 1 to green, Peter.
Absolutely. Samantha Wood saying in the chat that this is Chris's favorite track. It's Chris Belanca in the number 42 machine. It is a super fun track. I love running this place. It is definitely a place that can cause a lot of chaos with how short and how narrow it is, and how tricky it is to drive with these narrow wheelbase Legends cars. But for the most part, it's just a lot of fun to whip these narrow wheelbase machines around this track, and really that goes the same for all of the Legends track. They're pretty much all the same in the way that they're shaped, but the pace car has gone off the racetrack and put the race back in the hands of the number 42, Chris Belanca, leading the way here. Finished 3rd last night at South Sound Speedway in Legends, so he knows how to drive these machines, and definitely showing that prowess here tonight, leading a good majority of this race, Nicholas.
Transferring all of the real-world racing talent down onto the simulator. Goes a little below the apron, the number 42 of Chris Belanca, but does not get loose whatsoever. He is still your leader. And right behind him, the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr., who has been in second for quite a while now, after making the move under Dylan Huffines not too long ago in the last green flag run. Which hopefully this will be the longest green flag run that we've had. Hoping that we wouldn't see any more cautions, but we're going to see what these guys can do. Just under 20 laps to go here tonight at Charlotte, Peter.
Last time by, the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. just a little bit faster than Chris Blanca in the number 42 machine. Will we see a battle for the lead here in the closing laps? Just 16 more circuits around this racetrack. It will go by in a flash here with 16-second lap times. Here we go on board with Eric Johnson Jr. looking at the back of that number 42 machine. You see them last time by. It looks like Eric Johnson was just a little bit slower than Chris Blanco. This time by, just a smidgen faster, 2/1000ths of a second. Got Degenstein, number 13 machine. Haven't seen him out there on the racetrack for a while. Do believe that the number 13 machine has taken it to the garage. Sean Jones and Wade Cohen's, both of those cars are out there on the racetrack. Looks like Wade Cohen's, now on pit road. We saw him briefly there in that number 18 machine off the pace. And looks like he might call it a night here. Definitely tough break for Wade Cohen's. Definitely showed some pace early in the race. There is Eric Johnson Jr. over the last lap or two. Blanca's been about a 10th faster. So Blanca starting to stretch his lead right now up to about 3/4 of a second. You can see that number 14 machine trying to do all he can to charge down on Chris Blanca, but so far looks like nothing doing for the battle for the race lead, Nicholas.
Yeah, not quite sure, and it looks like Derek Presley now going down to the pits, and his black flags actually had been cleared. Wondering if he was speeding on pit road just a bit, but now Derek Presley taking it to the pits. While these drive.
I'm sorry to interrupt. That was a tough break for him in that number 4 machine because he was kind of having a bounce back night. He was a couple laps down after that halfway caution, and he'd gotten back onto the lead lap, but unfortunately, Derek Presley has pulled it to pit road with now just 9 or so laps to go for your race leader, Chris Blanca. And Nicholas, that race lead has ballooned up to about 1.3 seconds here with now just 8 more laps to go.
Yeah, and I believe this is actually the longest green flag run that we have had so far tonight, and hopefully it can stay that way for the rest of these couple of laps, Peter. And yeah, we're just gonna see what they can do. Couple of drivers going around lap traffic. I believe that was the 4 of Derek Presley, who is just very slow. Oh, and is going back up to speed, so it's just and is now going back to the pits. Very rough night for the number 4 of Derek Presley.
Yeah, I'm wondering maybe there's a little bit of damage on that race car. Just can't quite see out the end. Wade Cohen's in the number 18 machine. He made it back out onto the racetrack, so he will probably take the 8th position. Indeed, he does, from Derek Presley. Sean Jones in the 00 machine, the only other car multiple laps down that's still running. He's down in 7th. 6 cars on the lead lap as we are now down to 5 more laps to go for Chris Blanca coming down the front stretch. Sees 4 laps to go, and this is a battle for position between Chris Torres and Matthew Disanoski, your pole sitter in that number 99 machine, trying to hold off the 02 of Disanoski here with just 4 laps to go.
And the 00 of Sean Jones has gone around. Still green, thankfully, but he did go around. I just caught it as I was going through the different drivers.
And I think, I'll tell you what, I think Sean Jones might have just been disqualified from this race from incident points. He has just disappeared from the racetrack from that spin that he had right there. That, my friends, is worth 2 incident points, and if you get 20 in a race, it is game over for you. Chris Blanca here, though, not game over for him as he sees the white flag here coming down the front stretch. Got a 2-second advantage over the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. and coming out into turn number 3 and 4, Chris Blanca, the Legends driver in real life, takes the Legends Oval here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We have 1 car spinning across the start-finish line. Not sure what happened there or who that happened to. We'll have to see if we can go back and see, as the number 42 of Blanca got a little bit of a congratulatory bump there from the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. It was a little bit more of a bump, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
it was
rammed.
a pretty big nudge there. Let's see if we can see what happened here coming out of the corner. Ooh, Wade Cohen's, it looked like, in the number 18 machine. Looks like he might have also succumbed to the
Right
incident
before
point
the
limit.
start-finish line. Hopefully, he got that lap counting. But Chris Belanca, as you can see on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, is celebrating with a lot of damage now. And Eric Johnson Jr. still at it again with the congratulatory, quote-unquote, bumps. Very good way to celebrate with a couple of your friends. And would like to point out that it was mentioned that this is Chris Belanca's favorite track, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and not only that, this is his second win of the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series. He won the initial race back at Lanier way back when. That race was actually not broadcast here on 3YT. It was a Saturday night race, the only Saturday night race that they have done here in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. But second win on the season, so great job by Chris Belanca, the Legends car driver in real life, like you said. Transferring all that knowledge he has gained from real life over into the simulator, and that's pretty awesome to see that one-to-one correlation in talent, running third last night at South Sound Speedway and taking home the checkered here tonight. But Nicholas, why don't you take us through tonight's 10 cars that made up tonight's final race results?
Hey, well, of course, your winner, the number 42 of Chris Belanca, and just finishing behind him, who is also celebrating with Chris Belanca, the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. Finishing in third, the number 7 of Dylan Huffines, and finishing fourth, the number 99 of Chris Torres, who we saw have a little bit of late race trouble with the wall here at Charlotte. Finishing in fifth is the 02 of Matthew Disnoski, and in sixth is the number 43 of Andy Johnson. Finishing seventh, the number 18 of Wade Cohen's, who was having a bit of a rough night near the end. And finishing in 8th, the 00 of Sean Jones, who we saw got disconnected just a few laps before the race had ended, spinning around in the grass. And finishing 9th, another person who's had a little bit of a rough night near the end, the number 4 of Derek Presley. I mean, I was keeping my eye on him throughout the race, and he just had a little bit of issues near the end. And rounding out the 10-car field this Father's Day night, the number 13 of Scott Dagenstein, finishing 59 laps down, Peter.
Yeah, and next week, same time, same place here on 3YTV, we come right back here to Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's going to be street stocks around the 1.5 mile NASCAR oval, and I'll tell you what, that is pretty much going to be a super speedway, and I'll tell you, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be interesting to see who takes home that checkered flag, because with the racetrack basically being a super speedway for the street stocks, I don't think we have a favorite for that race. It is going to be a very tight one. It's going to be a very interesting one to watch for all 65 laps of that event. Make sure you tune in, same time, same place next week here on 3YTV for more South Sound Speedway eRacing Series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. But for myself, Peter Short, Nicholas Reese, and Carlos Acosta, we want to give each and every one of you a good night, and we'll see you 1 week's time here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. See ya!